Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. That's Eric over there.
Hello.
That's Vanessa over there.
Good evening.
I'm Kelly. Hey, Vanessa, your mom got her first shot, and coincidentally, I had my first shot today just before you got here.
Did you really?
Don Julio 1942 went down.
Oh my God. My mom doesn't drink.
I get the second one in 1 hour.
That's upsetting. Actually, she got her second. So she's fully, well, in I guess 2 weeks, she'll be good to go. She can go raving.
Fantastic.
She can go to spring break and like get crazy.
Right.
Orgy time.
Right.
Absolutely.
Mom, why do you keep bringing home all these beads?
It's very strange.
They just hand them to you. Okay.
All right, I'm in. No, I'm extremely excited for her. She's very much in the age bracket. But yeah, got her lined up, got her shoved in, and yeah, she's all settled. Now I can go to the grocery store and not cry.
So Joss Whedon has been in the news a lot lately, you guys, and I thought it'd be interesting to discuss whether or not we believe the myth of the Hollywood feminist might be dead finally.
Man, I lost a lot of faith in the world not so long ago because of Mr. Whedon. I feel so mad at myself actually because his wife had put out that public letter like 5 years ago, maybe longer. And I remember reading it and thinking, they just have some personal thing. Like obviously like this is between them. It's their relationship. I don't know. And now I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like she was straight up like, yo, everybody, this be who he be. And we're like, but he's Joss Whedon and we love Buffy. And now I'm like, well, fuck Charisma and Sarah and like the chick who plays Tara and the girl who plays fucking Dawn.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he sexually averted himself to those people, but the fact that they were all like, he's toxic garbage is not good.
Would you say that, I mean, it's nice to pretend that you're a feminist if you're not, because it almost means the same thing if you just do what you should be doing professionally.
Yeah.
But the fact that Charisma didn't feel comfortable coming out at the time this was happening,
right,
and that everybody else on the show was seeing stuff like this and didn't feel the need to say anything, or maybe not the need, but felt, the repercussion could be I no longer have a job.
Yeah.
Do we then finally, I think that this happens in Hollywood constantly. Hollywood has been making movies about how awful Hollywood is since Hollywood started. So part of me is like, look, if you get into this career, you have to maybe not be okay with it, but not be surprised by it.
Sure.
And do we finally now, because Joss was just he was held so high.
Yeah.
Do we stop and say, okay, can we stop putting human beings on pedestals? Because Vanessa, you are a lovely human being. Eric, you are probably the nicest person in the world I know. And I guarantee you there's someone out there who thinks you're the biggest asshole on the planet. Because we all have that in us for a little bit or a lot or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
My whole thing is I can't be canceled because I've never pretended to be a nice person in the first place.
Right.
So anybody who tells you how awful I am, you're going to be able to go, yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
But he pretended to be somebody.
Yeah. And I think that I've definitely come to a place with people as a whole where I've no longer listened to what they've said. I've watched what they've done. And if somebody's saying, I believe in voting rights, or I believe in women's rights, women should be on set, I think POCs should be on set. Well, did they hire POCs? Are there POCs as their leads? Do they support women? Have they given money or showed up at an event? Or, actions are where it's at. And I think that Joss definitely spoke a big talk. And I guess because he had a show with several shows with female leads, people were apt to believe him. But I don't know. I don't think I think that people who abuse systems will be the first ones to say they are the solution for those systems.
Yeah, I agree with that. I remember on the set of our film, Eric was arguing to get more women on there, more women crew. And I was like, look, Eric, if we do this,
oh my God,
soon they're going to
no.
want to drive. They're going to want to vote.
Hey man, when I became a landowner, I was like, oh, I finally get to vote. I get to wear pants. This is extremely exciting for me. Now I might get shot in the street, but it's worth it.
I think part of the problem is assuming it's just Hollywood stuff. We hear about those because they're in the news. They're what people talk about.
Right.
My brush with sexist, I guess, problems was when I was working retail at Suncoast. I know Kelly's heard this story probably a few times, but I was promoted to manager at the store, and I walk in the door my first day, and they're like, "You have to fire this employee. He's been complained about by three women in the store." I'm like, frick, there's only 3 women working in the store. It's like 5 people in the store as a whole. So day one, I had to, fire somebody for sexual harassment. He was a creepy dude too.
Oh, so this was a real?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought you were going to tell me this. Somehow you're going to twist this story and find out that it had all been made up.
Oh my God.
No, he was.
They do that,
No.
You met him at one point. We shot something with him at your house ages ago, your old house. I don't remember what we were shooting, but he did. It's been long enough. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. It's been 30 years probably, but he did high school video. He would do high school football games.
Oh.
And he came up to me one time when I'm working. I'm like, "Hey, come here, man. I do those high school games." Like, "Yeah, I had another camera. I shoot the cheerleaders. You want to see that video?" I'm like, I really don't.
Jesus.
Oh, pass.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a big surprise when I walked in and was told I had to fire this particular individual.
Right.
I mean, it was effective immediate. I walked in, they said, "This is what he's owed. Pull it out of the till, give it to him, and walk him out the door." I'm like, damn. Like, okay.
Wow. Oh my God. I mean, I think you're right. I think it's in all industries. And during the Me Too movement, a lot of women came out of the hotel industry. It was it's everywhere. And it's just any time in which there is a power play in action, it's gonna exist. And the easy ones are where there isn't a power dynamic in action, where it's just like, that guy's creepy. Okay, great. No problem. We can take care of that. No big shakes. But if it's my high school teacher did something, then it's like, oh, well, you're just lying because he gave you an F.
Oh, man. Remind me of another fun story. My junior high.
Yeah.
This was junior high. Good old O'Leary, Twin Falls, Idaho. There was a teacher there who apparently, he was one of those teachers that all the girls liked. He's a fairly good-looking guy. Until apparently he was having an affair with one of the students there in junior high.
Oh my God.
And the parents found out about it and moved out of town.
Yep.
And he followed them.
Oh my God.
To their new town.
God.
And subsequently was arrested and, all kinds of.
Yeah. No, I've heard that story. I mean, I've heard that exact story. When I was working with Real Girls, we had a student who had experienced something very similar, and she was under 16. So it's just like, I know, it's a horror. I mean, I remember in swim team, there was this kid who used to show up and take pictures of us. And I remember my friend, Marianne, who's like, she's like a feminist to her core, whether or not she wants to be. She just can't help it. And she got out of the pool, walked over to him, started screaming at him, grabbing his camera, yelling at him, then yelling at the coaches and saying, "Why the fuck is this guy allowed to sit here and take pictures of us in our swimsuits?" And everyone, I remember at the time, everyone's like, "God, what is Marianne's deal? That girl's such a bitch." Yeah. And that's what you get. That's what you get for saying, "Hey, I'm calling out on this person."
It's a fun start to the show. Hey.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this.
Eric, I really enjoyed your story, but if you could quit being such a bitch, that'd be great.
It's fine. I mean, look, I've seen it on set. I've complained about it on set. I did walk off of a set.
Oh wow.
From stuff like this, and then I was asked to politely return to set. So, and it would be quote unquote taken care of. So, like, I don't know what to. It exists like rampingly, and like I said, if you're wondering about the people around you, just look at what they do. Just close your ears and open your eyes and just see what they do, and that'll tell you everything you need to know about them.
Well, I'm keeping my mouth shut from now on. The other thing I wanted to share with you guys, you know how sometimes we have arguments about stuff and everything.
Yeah,
well, I've decided to keep a log here.
Oh my God.
And this book says my list of things I was right about. I'll be noting that throughout the various episodes.
I see it's
with a
blank
date.
right now.
I just got the book, Vanessa. Nice try.
Number 1, Vanessa complained about my book. I was right. I just bought it. That's why I hadn't written anything yet.
I would have started it at 100. Call this volume 2. You guys, I did a Frank Grillo double feature this week.
Oh, did you?
I did. Eric, I know you've seen one of these movies.
Okay.
Boss Level, which is on Hulu now.
Oh, man. I just ran across that like 2 hours ago. I was flipping through something and that popped. Oh, man, that's such a cool movie.
Yes. It is, I guess I would describe it like Groundhog's Day meets Deadpool.
That's good. That's really
a lot of guns and comedy and ridiculousness, and it's a time loop.
Oh.
And it's got Mel Gibson in it as well.
Okay.
And he is on his best behavior. He doesn't
anti-Semitic rant.
He doesn't deny the Holocaust or call a cop sugar tits even once.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm proud. Let's everybody stand up and give him a little round of applause right now. Way to go, Mel.
He was very good at it. He's got a very small part.
Yeah.
Sure.
And he kind of plays the kind of role I think he's going to continue to be able to do if he keeps acting in movies where he's, a complete dick.
Right.
No.
And then the second part of that double feature was called Cosmic Sin, which is Frank Grillo and Bruce. Why am I blanking on Die Hard's name?
Willis?
Bruce Willis. Thank you.
Wow. I don't know that one.
No, and there's no reason you should. Yeah, it's brand new.
What the hell happened to Bruce Willis, man?
He's got a mortgage.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
What the hell is that?
Well, it sounds like my neighbors are vacuuming the walls again.
Oh.
It sounds like there's liquid inside their vacuum cleaner.
We do have the...
It sounds like the sea is being vacuumed.
Yeah,
so
I thought your
like,
sink was back again, but maybe worse. We do have an advantage with these mics is their range is lower. So hopefully it won't pick it up as much as the other ones would have.
Right. Well, that's what I watched. I would say this. Eric and I actually got what would you call it, Eric? A preview copy.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean that.
of Boss Level. So we saw it quite a while ago. And it's one I will watch again now that it is available on Hulu. And I suggest anyone who likes action, adventure, it's filthy. So there's that.
That's true.
And then just pass on Cosmic Sin.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, sure. Absolutely.
After that last Bruce Willis one I watched, I can't remember what it was, but it was just awful.
Yeah.
Not just, this isn't any good. It was just flat out bad.
I think the last 5 Bruce Willis movies I've watched have been bad, including like Die Hard 7 or whatever, like Chernobyl versus Man. It was not a good movie.
Don't think I've seen that one.
If he punches, radiation in the face and wins, you're in too deep.
Well, do you see anything better than that?
Well, so I checked out a film. It was actually on my friend's Plex, so I don't know how you get a hold of it, but it was called Tone Deaf, which is a nice little horror film.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, a girl is tone deaf and does not play the piano well, but no one has the guts to tell her that she sucks. She gets dumped by her boyfriend, decides to go to an Airbnb. She's very much a hipster, millennial hipster, and maybe even a younger than millennial hipster. And the guy who she gets the Airbnb from has reached that point in his life where he's decided he really wants to go ahead and experience murder and has decided to become a serial killer now that his children are grown. His wife has passed on, and he's ready.
Gotta come up with a hobby.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes. And her father, who's deceased, visits her in dreams a lot, and he's played by the dad in Twin Peaks, Ray
Wise.
Yeah, Ray Wise. And he's extremely good. It had a good premise, and it was sold to me as being like fucking hilarious, amazing. I thought it was fine.
Where does the tone deafness come into the story? I mean,
Because she's tone deaf.
Yeah, but does she use that somehow to?
It's just
or
an
does he use it
ongoing
against
joke.
her? Oh,
It's just a constant ongoing joke.
is this a comedy?
It's a comedy horror.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
Yep. So yeah, I recommend if you like comedy horror to check it out because you'll probably love it. I just am not good at comedy movies. I'm not the right audience for any of them.
I have no humor.
I have no humor. I'm the most humorless son of a gun.
Speaking of, I guess it was kind of humorful actually. I watched one of those pop up on Amazon movies, Killer Sofa.
Oh my God. I feel like I've heard of this one. No, I've heard of Killer Backpack.
Yeah, I watched that one too.
Is this new or?
Yeah, 2019.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
And surprising, actually. I was expecting a repeat of something like Killer Backpack or the Death Bed, the bed that eats. But
Yes.
it was not. It was ludicrous.
Sure.
And I don't know if maybe it was, I can't remember what country it came from, if it was US or another country, because it's not a sofa. It's like a lazy boy chair. I don't know, maybe some other country calls those sofas, but it has two little button eyes, kind of in the middle.
Oh my God.
And
Very Pee Wee Herman.
yeah, yes. And the legend is there's this one woman in the movie who everybody obsesses over, and the legend comes out that that's like the line of her family. All the women in her family have had obsession problems. It's actually a Jewish demon. Everybody talks about golems, but this actually is a different legend, Jewish legend.
This is the Dybbuk that we were talking about.
Yeah, that's
with
exactly
your
what it was.
possession movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it possesses a sofa,
Eh.
and it kills people and does stuff, and it's actually surprisingly decent. And it's not great, and it could be that my expectations were Killer Backpack level, which had one good scene. But you know what? It was actually worth watching.
Yeah, I remember Rubber having that effect on me. I was like, you know what? Not completely awful.
It was nowhere near that weird. It was actually a very straightforward story overall.
Yeah.
But Rubber was really weird. They had like the fans watching from the desert that followed him around, watching it like it was a live action movie or something.
I don't even remember that part. I must have blocked it out. I just remember it getting stuck in the swimming pool.
But
anyway.
Maybe it's because I enjoy Bruno Mattei movies now that this seems better than maybe it is. But I don't know. I enjoyed it, and it was really, really silly.
I'll check that out because also on my watch list is Slacks that just showed up on Shudder about the pair of jeans that kill. And
have we run out of ideas as a race?
This was made by the people who did Turbo Kid.
Are you serious?
So, I watched the preview and I was like, oh, okay, I'm putting this on my watch list.
Okay, secondary question. Did the filmmakers of Killer Turbo Kid, whatever, did they run out of ideas?
Wow.
I'm just wondering. It happens.
So judgmental.
It happens to us all. So I'm just putting it out there.
I watched another movie.
Oh,
yes.
Raya and the Last Dragon.
How was it?
Yeah,
that came out of nowhere.
How would you think it would be?
I mean, it's a Disney movie, so there's a 65% chance it's okay.
I loved it.
Really?
I thought it was fantastic.
Oh, I'm so happy.
The dragon is voiced by Awkwafina. I don't know who this is, but I don't particularly like her voice.
She's okay, but she's been in a lot of strange stuff.
She has one kind of zone. She sort of plays the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
That might have been. Yeah, I thought that she was the weak link in this, but everything else I really, really loved. I'm sure that it is on some list of offending somebody, but
Sure.
some kind of cultural appropriation went on somewhere, I'm sure. But I really, really enjoyed it.
Aw.
And I mean, it's Disney.
Yeah.
I'll watch that with my mom. I'll put that on the list.
Yeah. It's one of those. It's a feel good movie.
Yeah.
So.
Nice.
Yeah, very cool. So I finished up watching WandaVision.
Because we've all seen
Because
all
we've
of
all
it, right?
seen it.
We've all seen
Yeah,
WandaVision.
good. Okay. So yeah, I finished watching WandaVision. I really loved it. I mean, overall, as the whole series goes, I was definitely blown away. And then I proceeded to watch Infinity War because I was trying to remember what happens in Infinity War versus Endgame. And every single thing I remembered was only from Infinity War. And I was like, doesn't the whole thing end with the battle in Wakanda? And my friend was like, no, that's just Infinity War. I was like, are you sure? Because then they they're trying to rewrite Vision and they're like, yeah, and then Thanos and Snap and I'm like, wait, what happens in Endgame? So I now have to rewatch Endgame because I kind of vaguely remember. I've seen both of them 3 times in the theater.
Oh, jeez.
I know. This is Marvel. I have a
Impressive.
black hole in my brain for Marvel movies. But WandaVision was great and I had a enjoyable time. Did you guys like it? What were your overall feelings?
Well, Eric's man crush got weepy online about it. Kevin Smith cried.
I think if it's Marvel and something happens, or Star Wars.
I thought it was just fine. No tears were shed here. But
Yeah.
I liked it. I didn't love what they did with Quicksilver, with Pietro.
I was
Yeah.
kind of disappointed in the end with where they landed.
Yeah.
But I do recall that Jimmy Woo said the entire reason they had found out about Westview, is that what the name of the town was?
Westfield.
Was because they had a witness go offline. And now I'm like, could he have been, because he still had the super speed. She didn't. Agatha didn't give him the super speed.
I feel like there's something more
She
going
was just
on, and I
controlling him.
hope there's something more going on because I think that that's just too strong of an idea that I just can't stand the idea that they just lost it and he's just some bro
Right.
who was an actor with. I didn't understand the headshots thing. Like, did he apply to Agatha to be like, hey, can you brainwash me?
I would think that, Marvel has got all this dialed in so tightly now that I
Yeah.
think that they would be like, we can't do this.
Yeah. There's my only disappointment with the choices is that having now delved a little bit further into the comics, there's 100 years worth of stuff. So I can't say that I know much. But what I do know is that Agatha is a good kind of guy because she trains her to do everything. And she's overall seen as being on the side of good. So that was very confusing to me because I kept waiting for her to be like, and I'm going to train you and I'm going to show you how to use things, or I'm going to show you how to use this to turn it into something else. And instead it was actually, I'm just a bad guy.
Yeah, I think she shows. I think when she originally shows up, she's a bad guy, and then something happens where they kind of.
Where she talks to her, where she points out you are the Scarlet Witch, I think is sort of, then they started to rotate her back towards the Protector as opposed to the.
Well, I was talking about in the comics, in the
okay.
60s when Agatha Harkness, she was a villain, and then something, and she was an old lady.
Yeah, she's an old lady.
And then something happened where she ended up being the I don't want to say the babysitter, but
yeah, she's kind of
that's close.
who's Mickey for Rocky.
Right. Well, she's a mentor, but when they have their kids, she's kind of the mother-in-law that comes in and takes care of the kids while they're off adventuring.
Oh, interesting. I know that there's something that happens where she dies and comes back from when I was reading the lore. So that might be part of it. She comes back.
That doesn't sound like a comic book thing to me, though. So.
Oh, well. I know.
Like you said, there's a lot of branches and a lot of stuff out there.
Wikipedia is just not useful enough.
I think it's funny that you went and did that because after that finished, I went on a crazy Marvel rewatch thing, and I've watched Iron Man 2 and 3, Avengers, Age of Ultron,
Yep,
then Endgame, or Infinity War, Endgame, Captain America,
Civil War.
I
Yeah,
just
I
went
rewatched
and watched
that.
all the stuff. And there were a lot of those movies that I thought were so that I've watched now. And I was like, what was wrong with me? Civil War
I
was
know.
great.
Oh, Civil Wars.
Same.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I didn't like it when it came out.
Same. I hated Civil War when it first
Really?
came out. And and now I'm like, that was actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's real
like,
good.
man, what was I thinking? But yeah, and I do understand why I had probably a hard time remembering Infinity War because there's just so much going on simultaneously that I was like, I'm going to forgive myself on this one because I'm like at the end of the movie and I don't remember what's happened.
What happened in... Oh, well.
Wait, what? Why is Star-Lord here? Ah!
Got to start off the 20-some-odd Marvel movies again.
Like, that's right. Thor does have to start a sun and then hold a thing and then gets burnt and then what? And then, oh, that's right. Groot does give his arm to become a handle.
By the way, I also rewatched Thor Dark World, and that sucked as much as I thought it did the first time.
Yeah,
I remember going and seeing that in the theater in London, like getting off work, going straight to the movie theater, sitting down, falling asleep 10 minutes in, waking up, not being any more impressed, going back to sleep. That movie was just no good.
Yeah, that was not the best Thor movie by a long shot.
I haven't yet to consciously make my way through that movie.
Nice. Okay, well, now for something completely different.
Yes.
One that I'd wanted to see for a long time and somehow kept missing. I'd go to watch it and it'd pop out away from whoever was streaming it or it'd get in trouble. Shudder started showing The Devils. The Oliver Reed, Vanessa Redgrave, 73 or something like that?
I watched this too.
Oh, this recently? And I, like I said, I'd never seen it. And damn, it's its lore is so strong, or the legend of how, and maybe it's because I'm not Catholic, but its intensity was not what I was expecting. I was expecting a lot more over the top. Although when it goes over the top, it goes almost comedically over the top as part of the problem.
Did you like it?
Yeah. I thought it was
You
worth
got
watching.
a lot more out of it than I did. I think that this is one that I had always been wanting to watch and I had heard so much about. And then watching it, I was like, oh, no. I mean, Oliver Reed was fucking great.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it the most. Easily.
I didn't even recognize Vanessa Redgrave until maybe 10 minutes from the end. I was like, oh, that's Vanessa Redgrave. Okay, I was wondering where she's been this entire movie. She's the secondary lead.
Yep. Although I'd have to say one of my favorite parts was when the king gave them the vial of Christ's blood. I thought that was a hell of a jab. It's like,
First of all, I guess I wanted it to be like overtly supernatural or something. And then at the end, I was kind of like, what did you expect? Well, I can't think of a Ken Russell movie that I have liked, if I'm being honest.
Ken Russell is one of those guys directors who I enjoy his films. Liking them is probably a stretch. I find him an interesting filmmaker and I enjoy watching what he does, but I can't think of a single one of his movies I've watched more than once.
Yeah.
I wonder if, like, having grown up Catholic, if I would have a different impression of this movie than you guys, but
very possibly.
It's hard to know.
Available now on Shudder.
I know. I added it to my queue.
I think the thing that was also disappointing was I had heard that the ending was something much different than what the ending was. And I was like, where's the gigantic orgy?
Yeah, isn't the trailer... maybe the trailer gives a hint that something else happens. Because I remember thinking, like, it's super fucking crazy over-the-top madness movie.
Well, it made me wonder if we were watching a edited for TV version or something. I mean, obviously not, because there's certainly some scenes in there that I was like, oh.
My guess is I would think some people would see that scene like I was referencing where the blood comes out, where the nuns are all running around, and might call that an orgy.
Oh, like everyone's in an intense emotional state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some sex going on, but there's not a lot. But I also thought that that church or building, whatever that thing they built was really impressive. I'm glad I finally was able to see it. But yeah, it, like I just said, with any other one of his movies, I don't think I own any of his films. And I probably, maybe if, down the line, Severin or Shout Factory comes out with a really cool, heavy box set full of cool stuff, maybe. But I don't revisit his films very much.
What are some well-known
Lair of the White Worm is probably his best-known film. Oh,
it might even be his best film.
Yeah.
It's still not very good.
I feel like, I've heard his name many times, but I have no idea. I don't think I've seen any of his movies.
Did a movie called Whore that he called his reaction to Pretty Woman.
Oh, God.
And it was, I think that might be his worst movie. If that was supposed to be, this is what being a hooker is really like, it's like, this is really just strange.
Sex worker, Eric plays.
Correct. Sex workers.
Apologize to all the hookers out there. Hey, Vanessa, you know how many orgies there were in The Devils?
0?
Oh.
None. None orgies.
Yeah, none true. None orgies. It's so sad.
Shall we take a break?
None jokes. None jokes, ladies and gentlemen. None jokes.
Well, he did have one you might like. Altered States.
Oh shit!
I always forget that's
that.
his.
Yeah,
that is an amazing.
I do
film.
too, because it's a linear story with an ending that kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
kind of.
But yeah, he's done a lot of freaking movies. But yeah. Anyways, break, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's take a break. Get all our nun orgy notes together, and we'll be talking about nun orgies when we get back.
Wait, I didn't research that.
We'll be right back.
Your squad is ready for you to lead them through. With Johnny 7 OMA, you charge. Fire grenade. Bullseye for Johnny 7. Watch out, tank. Fire anti-armor shell. Fire anti-tank rocket. Johnny 7's got him on the run. Johnny 7 fires bullets like a rifle. Fires like a Tommy gun. Now it's a cap-firing pistol. You've won with Johnny 7, the one-man army gun. It's 7 guns in one. Let's count them. 1 is a grenade launcher. 2 anti-armor gun. 3 anti-tank gun. 4 bullet-firing rifle. 5 Tommy gun. 6 anti-bunker gun. 7 cap-firing pistol. There's no other gun like it. To be sure, look for Johnny 7 OMA, the one-man army by Topper.
We have returned, and this is my subgenre. I chose Second Amendment. And before we get into this, I'll just let you know that I am a gun owner.
Oh.
I am a multiple gun owner, actually.
Oh my God, where are they? Don't tell me. They're in the oven.
There's right here. There's one there.
There's one in the microwave.
Don't look in the refrigerator.
And I believe in gun control laws and learning how to use a firearm and researching all of that stuff. So
Beautiful.
I would just say that I got the gun because of my neighbors last year.
Oh, Jesus.
Understandable,
and then when I started going to the range and getting fairly decent at it, I ended up really liking it and realizing I was pretty good at it. So then I bought a different gun, and then I bought a different gun, and I was like, I want to get good at every gun.
Absolutely. No, I get it. I get it for sure. I'm pretty anti-gun, but that's a personal thing. But I'm very pro. Look, I'm fine. People can have guns so long as they know how to use them and have trained and are not just going to dangerously run around flailing with them. And perhaps not a gun that just does 1 million bullets a second for no reason. Because that's not protection. That's just murder.
I saw an interesting report. I don't remember where it was from, but they were in, I think, Switzerland. Has very similar gun laws to us. Switzerland or Sweden has very similar gun laws to us. But the respect for the weapons is very different. And the guy who was interviewing looked at one of the guys he was talking to who had a gun on. And he's like, "Can I see your gun?" And the look on the guy's face of like, "Are you fucking kidding me? I am never handing you my gun ever," was just like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like he was angry. It's just like, nobody ever asks to touch another person's gun ever. It was really, really, actually really interesting.
That's fascinating. I mean, they have required military service there, don't they, in Switzerland? Am I crazy?
I know
feel
Britain
like I've
does,
heard.
but I don't know. They might.
I know that they make amazing knives.
Yeah, as I say, you get a Swiss Army knife when you go for your service.
I feel like I've heard that almost every Swiss person, at least people who do service, they all have a weapon. So that, that would make a lot of sense to me as to why.
I have a Swiss Army knife, but
Well, the problem is we are a country that was built on guns,
Sure.
from the Old West. And so we have a much different relationship with them than
the unfortunate thing
else.
is, I feel like anyone who wants a gun should have to no, that's not fair. I feel like Old West, there was an idea of America and why we needed a weapon. And that was to protect ourselves, not only from crazy people, but also from the elements. And I feel like having taken hikes through Alaska, it's fucking terrifying to walk through the woods in Alaska without a weapon, because if a grizzly bear, which there are zillions of, see you, you die. There's no in between. They decide to take you out, you are gone. So I feel like that is the kind of mentality I wish we still carried with us. This is a serious thing.
Well, we're doing a rare recording at night here, and as I let you loose on my street tonight, Vanessa, you tell me whether you think I
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking about.
It's like Escape from New York out there right now. So
I can damn near guarantee you there is a very small percentage of people that have saw what you saw going outside your door that wouldn't have now own a gun.
Yeah.
Or outside your window. I mean, right where the seagulls hang out.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah.
That was a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so with all of that being said,
yes,
what I chose was a movie from 1977 called Rolling Thunder.
His name is Charles Rain. He's been away for 8 years. Now he's coming home.
Speaking for myself, I'd like to say that the whole experience has made a better man, a better officer, and a better American out of me. Thank you very much.
But the world has changed,
I've been with another man.
You don't remember me, do you?
and he's changed too.
Pull it up in the air like you're going to take me clear on up to the ceiling.
All right. Like this?
Now higher, man, higher till you hear the bones starting to crack. That's it. Higher! Come on, higher! Higher!
I gotta go now.
What do you expect me to do? Just drop everything? What is wrong with you?
You're driving too slow.
It's going to take some time to readjust.
Charlie! Ah!
Shut up!
Your husband, he's got a whole bag of silver dollars, and if I don't get him, he's gonna die.
No, don't. Please don't.
Wish you could remember something. A name, a face, an accent, anything.
I can't.
Can't just let it slide, Major. They don't have any right to live.
There's a storm brewing in this man. They took his arm. They took his family and his soul. His anger is building, and it's going to explode. Now, from Paul Schrader, the author of Taxi Driver, comes a new and shattering film about a man poised on the brink of violence. Rolling Thunder, starring William Devane as Charles Rain. He has a purpose. He has a plan. It's only a matter of time.
I found them. Who? The man who killed my son?
I'll just get my gear.
There's the 4 that came into my home, and there's 8 or 10 others.
Let's go clean them up.
Rolling Thunder.
Mm-hmm. 1977, guys. Budget of $5 million. Box office, $130 million.
Whoa.
Excuse me?
Yep.
You serious? Rolling Thunder was that big of a movie?
Rotten Tomatoes, the critics, 86%. 78% from the audience. It was directed by John Flynn, who directed Bestseller, Lock Up, the Stallone movie, Out for Justice, the Seagal movie. It was written by, this film is kind of something else. Written by Paul Schrader. He wrote a few movies you've heard of.
Yeah.
Taxi Driver, American Gigolo, Raging Bull, Last Temptation of Christ, and 23 other films. He also was the director of the Cat People remake and the Dominion, the Exorcist prequel.
Oh.
One of the Exorcist prequels. Yeah. It was also written by Haywood Gould, who wrote The Boys from Brazil, Fort Apache, The Bronx, and Cocktail, among others.
Whoa.
Good Lord.
Yeah. It stars William Devane, who has 125 credits ranging from Gunsmoke to The Dark Knight Rises. And in the middle of that, 266 episodes of Knots Landing.
Whoa.
So the whole run, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Also stars a very young Tommy Lee Jones, who has 84 credits, including The Eyes of Laura Mars, Black Moon Rising, Batman Forever, and the Men in Black franchise.
All amazing films.
His glorious two-faced look.
And also stars Linda Haynes, who was in Coffee, The Drowning Pool, and Human Experiments.
Is that a movie or like action?
That's why we've never heard from her again. Her last role was in Human Experiments, and that was it. So, in 1973, Major Charles Rain returns home to San Antonio with a couple of other soldiers that he has been spending 7 years as a prisoner of war in Hanoi. He returns to a home where his son doesn't really remember him, and he finds out that his wife has gotten engaged to a police officer friend of his because he's been missing for 7 years, and they all assumed he was dead.
Sure.
Rain... You can tell Rain is damaged, and he just kind of stoically accepts the fact that his wife, she has feelings for him, and she's happy to see him and everything, and she lets him know that I'm engaged to the cop, and he kind of takes it all, and she says, oh, you must think I'm awful, and he says, no, I don't think you're awful. What were you supposed to do? Mm-hmm. But you can tell that it's not a I feel sad that this is happening. It's I shut down because I can't really work in society right now and all that. What he does is he self-imposes the same daily regime he had in captivity, which is to do all of these sit-ups and stuff like that. And the police officer friend attempts to make, good with him and says, really sorry about this. And he's just like, no, I get it. This is what happens. And they start talking and everything. He's telling him how difficult it was there in the camp and he shows him this thing about tying his arm behind his back and then starts telling the cop to start yanking on it harder and harder just to kind of show him what he was going through every day.
Oh, jeez. And
the cop is starting to feel very uncomfortable because he's like, I'm going to break your arm. He goes, you won't break my arm. And, just stuff like this. So, so this is where his mind is at. Meanwhile, the town has given him like this hero's welcome when he shows up and everything, which he is clearly very uncomfortable with. But they've got this big, huge celebration, and he is presented with a brand new red Cadillac and 2,555 silver dollars, one for every day he was a captive, plus one for luck.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That's awful.
Yeah. And he's presented this by this pretty girl, this Texas belle, who has worn his ID bracelet since he left. Now, this must be something that happened in Vietnam that I don't know about, where somebody from your hometown would wear your ID bracelet or something. I don't know.
That's so weird.
But it's, this is in 1977. So keep in mind, this is really only a couple of years since Vietnam has ended.
Yeah.
At one point, Rain is home alone. Now he's living with his wife and his son, but they're getting ready to do this stuff. He's home alone. And he is set upon by 4 men in a home invasion who saw him get all of those silver dollars, and they want them.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And they start beating the shit out of him and telling him, give us the money and all this stuff. Tell us where it is. And he doesn't say a thing. Although during it, he's starting to flash back to being tortured and the camp and all this stuff.
Sure.
And basically, he just kind of shuts down, which really pisses them off. So they grab him and they drag him over to the sink and they jam his hand in the garbage disposal.
No.
And they mangle it, and he doesn't make a sound. They're getting more and more angry with him.
No.
Unfortunately, his wife and son come home at that point, and the son is freaking out. And he's, no, I'll tell you where the money's at and all this stuff. So they kick Rain. He drops by the sink, and the son goes and gets the money. And they look at it and they're like, all right. So they start walking out, but they also shoot his son and his wife, and then turn around and shoot him.
No, oh my God.
70s revenge movies.
Can I ask you to stop this film review, please? Ugh.
That's the setup, Vanessa.
No.
Yeah, don't ever watch 70s revenge movies. I can tell you now, avoid this one, Death Wish, The Enforcer.
Anytime there's a garbage disposal, I'm not going to be happy, guys.
This is a step above. The garbage disposal scene is very tasteful in that they shot it, and it was so gory in the test audience that people were standing up and screaming, so they cut it for the actual film.
Wow.
I'm concerned.
Yeah. So several weeks later, Rain is recovering in a hospital where his the gal that presented him with the silver dollars, she comes in and visits him, all this stuff. And then his fellow soldier, Whedon, comes in, and that's Tommy Lee Jones. He basically tells Rain that he's signed back into the military for another 10 years because he just doesn't know how to deal with being out of the military now. Sure. So Rain is discharged, and he immediately goes home. He's got a new prosthetic, one of those grabby hook things.
Sure.
He goes into the wood shop and sharpens the shit out of that. Then he takes his shotgun and saws the end off, and he goes hunting for the guys who did all this.
Yeah.
And he knows they're down in Mexico, so that's where he's headed. So he finds one of the guys down there and immediately skewers him in the crotch with his hook. But after that, he barely escapes with his life while the other guys are after him. So back in Texas, his cop friend, he finds the end of the sawed-off shotgun, and he's like, God damn it. He knows exactly what he's up to. So he's a cop, so he's able to kind of trace the car, and he's got his cop friends looking out for it and everything, and they tell him he's down in Mexico, and he ends up going down there, and he ends up getting into a gunfight with the guys who did all this stuff to Rain, and they kill him, too.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Tommy.
So Rain... next time we see him, he is dressed in full uniform, and he goes to his buddy Whedon's house. That's Tommy Lee Jones. And Tommy Lee Jones sees him, asks no questions, immediately gets into his uniform, grabs his guns, and Rain basically tells him, here's what we're going to do.
Okay, I'm glad to hear he survived. I thought he was the first guy. All right, I'm with you.
Right. So he says, I know that... these guys are camped out in this whorehouse down here, and we're going to sneak in. And we're gonna,
what kind of house?
It's a whorehouse.
It's a sex traffic.
So they go down there. They're not dressed in their uniforms when they get down there. And Whedon goes in first, and he picks up a prostitute named, any guesses?
Lucky. Cheryl.
Whedon too?
It's always Candy. It's Candy. It's Candy in Highlander. It's Candy in Rolling Thunder.
I don't remember there being a prostitute in Highlander.
My name's Candy. Of course you are. So Whedon goes in. He picks up a prostitute named Candy. And once they're upstairs, Rain sneaks in, takes out a guard in the rear, and goes in the back. It's what, Eric? Was that funny?
It's horribly worded the way you did said that.
Rear. God. Pervert. He sneaks into the bedroom of the guy who had mangled his hand. He kicks open the door, and he's in there with the prostitute, and he basically says, it's your time, boy, and blows him away in the bed. And Whedon, who is in the other room with the prostitute, as soon as he hears the gunshot, she's like startled. He just sits up, immediately reaches under the bed, and starts putting together a rifle. And she's like, what the fuck are you doing? His response, I'm going to kill a bunch of people. Like that.
Pretty upfront.
That's what he says. And then a gigantic gunfight ensues. And
wow.
I'll let you know how it ends.
When you watch it yourself?
Yeah. This movie is really good. It's not your typical revenge thriller because it's more about the PTSD and his just it's super sad because you realize through no fault of his own, this guy is never going to integrate back into society. Mm-hmm. He's just not going to be able to do that. Especially, it would have been bad enough if he was over there and then he came back, but he was over there caught and then spent 7 years being tortured and all this stuff. So
right.
I got a little bit of trivia here. The famous scene where Rain's hand is put into a garbage disposal was originally a lot more graphic. There was originally a shot of his hand getting destroyed.
Oh, my.
The scene was filmed with a fake hand and lamb shank, which made it look very realistic. When the movie was previewed, audience members reacted very strongly. According to writer Haywood Gould, one woman fainted, another person ran into the lobby and demanded his money back, and another guy was so freaked out that he entered in his car in the parking lot and crashed into another car.
Oh.
So after that preview, the shot of Rain's hand inside the disposal was cut. In his 1982 book, Adventures in the Screen Trade, William Goldman called an advanced screening of this movie, the most violent sneak reaction of recent years. The audience actually got up and tried to physically abuse the studio personnel present among them.
Whoa, that's amazing.
And then finally, in the book Schrader on Schrader, which Paul Schrader wrote, and he was the writer of this movie, he complains how the studio completely twisted his original version of the story. He wrote it as a critique of U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War and fascistic and racist attitudes in America. Rain was originally written as a white trash racist with many similarities to Schrader's more famous character, Travis Bickle, from Taxi Driver. Oh, in this version, Rain becomes a war hero without ever having fired a gun and comes home to confront the Texas Mexican community. Rain's racist upbringing and hatred that grew in him in Vietnam slowly come out. This version ends with Rain's indiscriminate slaughter of Mexicans, which was meant as a metaphor for Vietnam. Schrader concludes with a claim that he basically wrote a film about fascism and the studio made a fascist film.
Oh.
That is some changing on directing there.
That sounds like something a writer would say.
Yeah. I got to say, it's a really powerful movie, and it's also just a really, really good movie.
When he first started talking about, well, I know he's got a hook thing on his hand. What? Oh, that's right. I'm positive I've seen this, but if I have, it's been a very long time.
It's worth a rewatch.
Definitely not seen it. Definitely not heard of it. But I did study Vietnam in college, so I'm ready.
Okay.
There you go. You can bring a new
perspective. So it didn't take me long to figure out what film I was going to do. I had to go with a film that has invented an entire art form around guns. Mm. And that movie is Equilibrium.
The cleric is the final line of defense. If the resistance compromises it, we are doomed.
You cannot do this.
There's nothing we can't do.
It's real. Burn it.
Cleric, I can only hope one day to be as uncompromising as you.
You're a family man.
Yes, sir, a boy and a girl.
Don't move! Don't move! This is a lawful entry. We have a warrant for your wife's arrest.
Remember me.
Welcome to the underground. Do you know why you came?
Yes. They trained you your whole life to fight these kind of odds. What can I do?
I've heard the most disturbing rumor.
Rumor, sir?
A rumor maintaining that one of the cleric is actually attempting to contact the resistance.
Then you know what I'm gonna do now.
Preston, give give yourself entirely without incident?
No, not without incident.
And that art form is gun kata. This came out in 2002. Have you guys seen this?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Severely underrated film.
It's really interesting. So the part of that's probably because the budget for it was 20 million and the box office was 5.3 million.
Ooh.
Yes, but it's weird how that happened. The film started off having a phenomenal international release, and so they decided to pull back on all the marketing for it because they felt like they didn't want to put in a bunch of money that was unnecessary. And then they ended up releasing it in less than 300 screens in the US or something. It was really low release. So I'm guessing if they made any money in the end, it was off of rentals. Sure. But very, very strange marketing technique in there. It came out in 2002. Rotten Tomatoes got it at 41% for critics, not very high, 81% for audiences. So audiences love it. The writer-director of this film is Kurt Wimmer. He's actually mostly a writer. As far as directing stuff is gone, he has a strange track record. He's done the 2020 version of Children of the Corn. He did Ultraviolet, Equilibrium, and One Though Bastard. I don't know. I think I misspelled that. But he wrote Sphere, Ultraviolet, Recruit, Salt, 2012 Total Recall, 2015 Point Break, Children of Corn 2020, and the upcoming Salt TV series.
When you mention all of those, I feel like this was kind of an accident because this movie is good and those movies are shit.
Yes. I think that it had a very strong idea and maybe this was something, this is an early piece for him because a lot of his stuff is very recent. So I'm just wondering if he had all his ideas in one basket and just kind of lucked out. Starring in this movie, Christian Bale. Yeah. You may have seen him in Henry V as Robin the Luggage Boy. He was in Midsummer Night's Dream as Demetrius. And perhaps one of his bigger roles, Exodus, Gods and Kings as Moses.
Are you telling me that he also played a character named Robin?
It's true. Robin, spelled the same. He also happened to be in Nolan's Batman series. He was Patrick Bateman in American Psycho. And he's going to be Gore, the god butcher in Thor, Love and Thunder. So look forward to seeing him then.
Interesting.
Taye Diggs in this as not sure if he's good or evil for a very long time character, Brant. He has been in 64 different parts, including it being in Chicago, Rent, Go, House on Haunted Hill, and 38 episodes of All American, 23 episodes of Empire, and 2 episodes of West Wing. Also, 10 episodes of Ally McBeal. I was like, I don't know what the Taye Diggs run was in there, but cool. Cool beans. Speaking of beans, Sean Bean is in this movie.
Yay!
Not for a super long time, but man, he's so good.
Does he die in this?
So Sean Bean has died in 23 different films. This one included.
Wow. Not what I was expecting.
Such as, you might have seen him die in Game of Thrones, Patriot Games, GoldenEye, Lord of the Rings, Henry VIII, or The Island.
Oh, man.
Yep. I have a full list somewhere, but it's not worth going through all of them. I do encourage you to look it up. Emily Watson is in this movie, who I just kept looking at her and going, you look so familiar. And everything I thought she was in, she was not in. So she's in 62 things, including Breaking the Waves is her big one. She was in Gosford Park, Red Dragon, and Punch Drunk Love. Most recently, the thing I think I did recognize her from was Ulana in Chernobyl. So. William Fitcher's in this as a revolutionary character named Jurgen. He's been in 89 things, including Armageddon, Crash, Heat, Drive Angry, and one episode of Baywatch. And Sean Pertrew is in this as the omnipotent overlord father. He's been in 116 things, including Dog Soldiers, Event Horizon, and Alfred in Gotham. So this movie is... it is just like sci-fi in a bag. It's just but with guns. The plot is after World War III, it was decided that humans could not continue to exist in such chaos, and thus emotions were outlawed. Liberia is established as a euphoria free from war in a sort of totalitarian state run by the Great Father, who regularly communicates to the people on giant video screens. It's got a very 1984 feel. Very 1984. All forms of feeling are illegal, and the state controls everybody through regular injections of a suppressant called Prosium. Those that violate the law and allow themselves to feel are considered to be sense offenders and are put to death. John Preston, a.k.a. Christian Bale.
How long ago would Kevin Smith have been killed?
I know. He does have the feels.
The problem is I wouldn't be able to feel joy about it. And so I'm not...
It's not a world you want to live in.
No.
John Preston is a leader in the law enforcement group. He's what's called a grammaton cleric. He's trained in the art of gun kata. Clerics frequently search and destroy illegal material that evokes emotions such as art, literature, and music. We open on a scene with him taking down a bunch of baddies like thugs and thieves and just dudes dressed in all black. You can just know if you played any video game, they're definitely evil and you should kill them all. And you watch them all, you're like, oh yeah, get him. And then all of a sudden, they're all dead and he's pulling up the floorboards and underneath is the Mona Lisa. And he sets it on fire.
Oh.
Ugh, poor Mona Lisa. Ouch. So, yeah, I was like, oh, wait, you're bad. Like, it's been a while since I've seen it. Preston's own wife was actually put to death for sense offending previously, leaving him alone to raise 2 children as a widower. He was tested early on in the movie to see if he had any response to this, and he says he feels nothing about it, and that seems to be true. In the meantime, in this world, this perfect utopia, there are some baddies fighting back with a movement simply called the Underground. After one large art raid, Preston's partner, Errol Partridge, a.k.a. Sean Bean, saves a book of poems by Yeats and puts it in his pocket. He tells Preston that he is going to take it and turn it in himself because you can't trust the cleanup crew to do it properly. And of course, he does not. Preston looks into it and discovers that he's been going off into these sort of ruinous city outside the borders and during the night, and he finds him in a church there reading poetry. Errol no longer wishes to live in this world and forces Preston to gun him down while reading poetry aloud to him. It's very dramatic, but it's pretty. It's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. He does the whole "don't tread lightly, for you tread upon my dreams" thing. It's very sweet. And it's very sad because Sean Bean, I wanted him to be around longer. Shortly after, Preston accidentally breaks his daily vial of Prosium and is unable to replace it before the next raid. He finds himself starting to feel, and he just does not manage to get his Prosium. Like, he keeps trying and then being like, oh crap, and now they're going to know that I didn't take it if I try to take it now. And he's trying to cover it up because he's like the top policing official. But at the same time, he starts to see things like colors, and he feels textures, and he can hear things that he hasn't really been hearing before. He feels the temperature, details, all this kind of stuff. And he starts to just sort of hide his vials away. And his emotions grow and grow. Throughout the film, he starts to embrace music and art, and even falls in love with one sense offender, a.k.a. Mary O'Brien. And he starts to question his role in Libria, and sides with the offenders. My God, who could have seen this happening? Who could have known in a science fiction dystopian film that a bad guy would start to wonder about his own life and place in it? I didn't. His new partner, who's replaced Sean Bean, Taye Diggs, aka Brandt, is suspicious but plays it very cool. Taye Diggs is also a very confusing character, by the way, in this movie, because he's emotional as fuck the whole way through. He's constantly giving me like sly smiles and looks and like laughs, and I'm like, you are totally a sense offender. Why has no one arrested this dude, bro? Like, Taye, man, you can't even hold back your Anyway,
the power of a beautiful black man.
He is a beautiful black man.
Guy is easy on the eyes.
He's a gorgeous human being. So it's okay to watch Preston. He's constantly watching him, and he's kind of watching him in the same way, of course, definitely not ironically, that Preston was watching Errol. In fairness, Preston is making it pretty obvious that he is starting to feel, because he does things like insist on saving Mary and not just killing her on the spot and saying she has valuable information. We need to take her in for questioning. We definitely can't kill her right now and right here. He's stealing items from the raids, including a puppy. He just straight up grabs a puppy and he's like, we need to test it because it might have disease. Bye. And he just walks off with his dog. You're like, that's not obvious. And he literally at one point starts breaking down in the middle of the street crying. I'm like, you could do a better job. Like, they show like how like one person will just have like a teeny tiny little flicker in their face and they get called off the street and murdered. And yet he's like, it's fine.
You're making this sound crappy.
It's good. I love science fiction. I love dystopian movies, and this has so much style. It's fucking unreal. Oh, yeah. It's just there are a couple of logic moments where you're like, come on, y'all, just try a little harder. The little subtleties just fine for audiences. Of course, Brandt sees all these things going on with Preston. He turns them over to Father. But Preston has plans, and he tries to turn in Brandt, and he says, no, I'm not the offender. Brandt's the offender. And then Father's like, oh, okay, I will arrest Brandt. But then Brandt is like, haha, it was a secret undercover job, so you're arrested. It's a lot of twists in a very short period of time. So the big question being, will Preston be able to stop Brandt, save Mary, kill Father, put the resistance in place, and free Libria? Will he be able to outwit his creepy son, his team of raiders?
Yeah, I forgot about the son.
Son is creepy as hell. Yeah, there's some good son and stuff in there. He also keeps murdering his own raid teams, and I'm like, when is this gonna end up like coming back to you? Because that happens a lot. And pull off the ultimate gun kata final fight. Who's to say how this movie ends? I don't know. Could be anything. Could have a gunfight. Maybe even more than one. Hard to say.
Do they address that Taye Diggs has been emoting at all? I mean,
no.
Is he just acting? He's that good of an actor?
He's just such a good actor. Oh my God. They do say at one point that the guy who is the like head spokesperson for Father, he is a sense offender. But he's like, I'm doing this because I'm trying to understand and see through like the bullshit around me.
Sure.
But Taye Diggs is just we're all supposed to believe that he's definitely on the like prosium. He's definitely not feeling shit. He's definitely not like gleefully, haha, I've got you, like all the time.
So he's just a twist. And you got to buy it.
You just have to.
That's the twist.
You just have to assume that there's no twist. He's just definitely not feeling anything.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. However, I will say there is a fight with Taye Diggs that is like maybe built up to through the whole movie. And maybe it lasts about 2 seconds. This is because, fun trivia note, Taye Diggs actually got another job and had to peace out pretty quickly. And so did not have time to spend much time, if maybe at any time at all in this fight. It might actually just be a stunt double followed by a quick death.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a weirdly abrupt kind of ending in that way, but there is a lot going on in the end. So I wouldn't say that the end is spoiled by that at all. It's just like the whole gun kata thing seems to sort of, that isn't the big moment for it, it feels like. So this movie was shot in Berlin due to the unique mixture of fascist and modern architecture. The idea of cityscapes and design of Liberia came from the works of Hugh Ferris, an early 20th century conceptual artist. The writer and director Kurt Wimmer invented the martial arts style of gunfighting for this movie in his own backyard. Way to go, Kurt. I'm just like imagining like the ultimate milady in his backyard with his gun be like, "Hua, hua, I'm so cool. Fedora. Hua, hua."
Yes, exactly. Fedora, nailed it.
Yeah. I mean, okay, the film, like I like a lot about the film, but it does have that kind of feel to it. The kendo type swords that are used in the sparring scene early on, where you do get a really good kind of sparring gun kata scene with Bale and Diggs. They were actually they used wood for these swords because which were easily broken because Bale and Diggs were really whacking each other with them. So they just kept breaking them over and over again, which is very good. The cool thing about this, no wires were actually used in this film. There's a ton of stunt work in this. It was done through conventional means, such as a backflip off of a motorcycle was done using a trampoline. So it looks fucking cool. It looks Matrix style level fighting. So they did a great job. The film's fight choreographer, Jim Ramos Vickers, and Kurt Wimmer had some slight disagreements on how the martial art gun kata should be performed on screen. You can see a little friendly jabs at the choreographer in the film when Kurt Wimmer performs the gun kata at the beginning. You see it's very fluid and smooth. The way it's actually used in the film is very rigid, with a few flowing movements thrown in. There's just a lot of little things, little digs. Interestingly, and this isn't something I noticed, but I do appreciate it, the violence in this film grows as the film progresses. It starts off at almost this sort of PG level violence where you don't really see the deaths. You see a lot of people die, but you don't see any blood or anything. By the end, it's like freaking soaked in blood. They're like trudging through puddles of blood. And the idea is that it's reflecting the emotional sensitivity and growth of the character, which is pretty cool. The puppy used in the film was a Bernese mountain dog. The noises, he's cute as hell. The noises it makes, which include the barks, whines, and yelps, were not made by the dog, but by an actor who specialized in mimicking animals. Ruff, 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 ruff. I do love, like, you might have noticed this on Mandalorian, like all the sounds are made by like an adult man who's making like the baby noises. I was like, why didn't you all just get a baby? I don't understand.
I liked it least when it actually sounded like a baby.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
But I don't like
But you don't like
babies.
He's what, 50 years old or something like that?
Yeah.
He's like, I thought he was like 80 or something. Yeah. So yeah, they did some budget cuts in this. They had 2 fire trucks in the film, which they basically just kind of repainted with new numbers on it to make it look like a lot more. Taye Diggs drives a car several times in the film. He actually had never driven a car before. And so they had to basically pretend he was driving.
Wait, isn't he in the Fast and Furious movies?
Uh-huh.
He does not know how to drive.
Wow.
Maybe he did some practicing.
He might have, maybe he learned.
Or whatever.
Yeah, maybe he learned since 2002. 2 actresses had to play Preston's wife. The condemnation of the wife archive footage was filmed first and featured Alexa Summer. When it came to film the rest of the film, she was arrested and could not be found. So Maria Pia Calzone had to take her place. Summer is credited as Viviana Preston and Maria as Preston's wife in the credits.
Interesting. The thought police got her.
I know. They were in there so soon. Daniel Radcliffe auditioned for the part of John Preston's son. I'm just trying to, there's so much trivia on this film. It's kind of unreal. So let me Let me wrap this up here. Preston kills 118 characters in the movie, and until 2009, held third place record for most deaths in a movie caused by one character, which is pretty good. Like I said earlier, they cut the fight between Preston and Brant short because it was supposed to be a lot longer, but Taye Diggs' schedule was too tight. Rumor was that he wasn't there for the fight at all. Visual effects budget ran out during post, and they were forced to keep some practical effects, especially when people were shot and murdered. So instead of blood, a lot of it's just like large clouds of dust, which is pretty awesome. And yeah, in 2017, they made a comic book series about it, 3-issue comic series set in that world. And of course, Christian Bale, Dominic Purcell, William Fichtner, and Sean Pershew all later played in DC comic-based movies and television shows. Both Bale and Fichtner played in the Dark Knight trilogy, with Bale playing the lead role Bruce Wayne, Batman, in the trilogy. Sorry, spoiler alerts. And Fichtner played a bank manager in the Dark Knight. Purcell played Heatwave in DC Legends of Tomorrow, and Pertwee played Alfred Pennyworth in Gotham.
I think they're flashing the flashlight at you, so 5 minutes is all you've got left.
I'm done. Done and done. Well, I'm sorry. Okay.
Hold on.
No, I'm done. Actually, yeah. So I overall like the film a lot. Just had a couple of logic things here and there.
I remember liking this one quite a bit, but it has been a long time since I've seen it. So I know you said 2002.
2002.
Yeah. I know I didn't see it in the theater, and I thought I saw it like 2008 or something. And it was only because somebody finally said, "You haven't seen Equilibrium?"
That's exactly how I saw it. Somebody was like, "You haven't seen Equilibrium?" And I was like,
That might have been me. I remember watching it randomly maybe because of Bale. It's like because I liked him as an actor. Hey, here's somebody's in. This is good.
Probably was you.
Well, all right. So
I'm sorry, Eric, we're out of time.
That sounds good. Okay, see ya. I picked a subtle action movie with not a lot of action, but a lot of story. The 1992 Hard Boiled.
Dark streets, where violence consumes everything it touches, and the innocent live in fear. Two men, dedicated to justice, will follow different paths. As one searches for revenge, and the other for redemption, fate will bring them together. Now, for those who hide behind the shadow of corruption, only one thing is certain. A day of reckoning is coming. From the director of The Killer and Mission Impossible 2. Chow Yun-fat and Tony Leung in one of the greatest action movies ever made. Hard Boiled.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a giant action movie. And Rotten Tomatoes lists 94 critics, 92 audience.
Nice.
Budget was, depending on where you look, either 4 million or 4.5 million, which seems really low for this film.
Yeah.
It's currently pretty much only available on YouTube, unfortunately. I own the 98 Criterion edition of that and Killer because I working at Suncoast and I knew it'd been out of print. It came out buying. So, yeah, it's hard to see.
That's so crazy. It is such a good film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
Oh, my God.
Directed by John Woo, who has done a few films you might have heard of. But The Killer, Hard Target, Face Off, A Better Tomorrow 1 and 2. Some of those are really good. It's also written by John Woo. Well, he did the story. A guy named Barry Wong did the screenplay, but he was also a screenplay writer for The Killer. Apparently, Chow Yun-fat now goes by Yun-fat Chow. So that's how he's listed as IMDb now.
I think that's how
Chinese names are.
I think that's how his name actually was, and that
it said his birth name was Chow Yun-fat.
Oh, interesting.
Oh.
So I don't.
Weird.
It could be a cultural thing too. It's like, this is your birth name, but this is actually how you say your name or something. He was in a few little U.S. film too, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Mm-hmm. I've never heard of that.
The fairly, I think, kind of underrated Replacement Killers, which isn't great, but is better than some of the John Woo films, the U.S. John Woo films, and The Killer. And he's got he's still working. He's got a film coming out in 2022. And
was he in Mulan at all?
I don't know. Okay. He's got a fairly long list of credits. He's been in a lot of stuff. It also has Tony Chai-Hwa Ling, who has 98 credits, 3 in post. And he's in a couple movies, Red Cliff 1 and 2, and 2046, which if you haven't seen, sounds like it might be up your alley.
Red Cliff is amazing, though. I do know that.
I've heard that is really good. Teresa Mo, who's found another one of those titles I love saying. I love you, you're perfect, now change.
That's a brilliant title.
And Men Suddenly in Black, 1 and 2. But she also has a ton of credits. And Philip Chung Fung Kwok, who is very recognizable. He popped on screen going, who the hell is this guy? He's been in Tomorrow Never Dies, Brotherhood of the Wolf, but his main claim to fame was lots of Shaolin movies in the 70s. And when you see a shot of him with his long hair, if you've seen any Shaolin movies, you go, oh yeah, I remember him. And Ricky-O, the story of Ricky.
Oh yes.
Chow's character is named Tequila, so if you hear me mentioning tequila at any point, that's what I'm talking about.
Drink every time he mentions tequila.
You'll be disappointed. Just randomly. So it has been a long time since I watched this. But as soon as it starts up with him pouring the drink, putting the napkin over the drink and slamming it against the bar, I'm going, oh, I watched this a lot when it first came out, didn't I? So I'm going, I remember this really well. There's a scene after that opening shot is really cool. According to, I think it was John Woo, he did this drink. It's tequila and soda water. And you slam on the bar to make it fizz real strong and then drink it down.
Interesting.
Like, okay. He just thought that looked really cool. So, which is how John Woo makes movies. There's a scene after the tea house shooting I'll be mentioning soon, but it's in the same bar, which is Yun-Fat Chow and John Woo. Chow wanted a moment to show his friendship with John Woo in this movie. So they scripted and shot it in an hour as an extra scene to be in the movie.
Interesting.
And of course, it's John Woo. There's no doves. There are no slow motion shots of doves. I kept waiting for them. However, there is the opening action scene. For some reason, a bunch of guys bring in birds in cages into this restaurant. I mean, there's a reason Chow has his, but there is, well, why bird cages? You find out why, for him at least, when he kicks open the bird cage and 3 guns come falling out of the bottom of it. Like, oh, that's why he has his. So this is the first action scene, and it just starts off awesome. It's the first real big guns fight, and you're going, yep, this is John Woo. If you've seen John Woo, you understand. And he does the magical guns that only need to be reloaded if it looks really cool, or if you need a pause in the action to, so somebody doesn't get shot or something. Other than that, these guns never stop having bullets. It's impressive. Part of what I think hit him, why he hit so huge, and if you were remotely a movie fan in the early 90s, you were there for the John Woo invasion of Killer and Hard Boiled. And some of it, I think, was just the way he shoots is all about how he shoots action. His mix of slow motion and regular speed is just astounding, with incredibly wild stunts. Chow sliding down the staircase shooting 2 guns at the opponent was an improvisational moment that he came up with on the set.
Oh my God.
And the idea of using that flower in this end of that scene where he shoots the guy in the blood, that was also, Chow's like, hey, we have some flour. Let's pull it on my face. It looked really cool. So, okay. After that, it's a series of segments attempting to try to be a movie. Of the two, between the killer and Hart, this is definitely the weaker story. It's less emotional story, less invested. Some of that is a lot of stuff was cut because it is a 2-hour plus movie as it is now. And apparently a lot of the love moments and slow scenes like that were cut out. But what you going to do? So you go back and forth. You do a little bit of that. It's luckily not quite Hong Kong humor. Sometimes can be very weird. This one had less of it than I thought. It must be scenes in The Killer I was thinking about, where it's just almost slapstick, Marx Brothers kind of stuff.
I do remember, because you turned me on to this film, and I do remember watching it and thinking, the Japanese have a different sense of humor. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Have a different sense of humor than we do. The scene where he's holding the baby and it pees on him. I was like, this scene stops everything. And I guess it's supposed to be funny, but it was just like, wow, how interesting.
Yeah, that's a very weird. I was like, all right. Story-wise, there is nothing original about this movie. The good guys are white hat, except for, Tequila's got to have his arguments with his boss and the police commissioner and stuff. The young villains are trying to take over for the old bad guy and all that stuff, wandering around with their giant brick cell phones. With the first of a couple captain yelling at his cop moments in this one. So then we move on to the next scene for the reason of this movie. The criminal double cross scene, which is filled with guns, motorcycles, explosions, and people flying frigging everywhere. I would say the shortest violent scene until Tequila shows up alone to deal with the problem. So we're looking at, in this scene, you've got the lead villain and all his guys. You've got the upstart son and all of his guys, and one cop. Guess who comes out on top? Smoke bombs, hand grenades, shotguns, machine guns, exploding motorcycles, slow motion, and of course, reloading only when it helps the story. And of course, it comes down in the end to the cop, the badass of the bad guys, and the lead bad guy, or is he? Because they go face to face in that classic standoff thing you've seen in so many movies with guns to their necks, and he doesn't shoot Tequila. He gets upset, and you get your necks yelling at the captain back and forth. Why aren't you telling me that everything's going on? If you think I'm flying over the storyline, it's intentional. This is not a movie to watch for the deep storytelling. However, I will say I had forgotten how unbelievably charismatic Chow is on screen. Holy shit, that man just fills the screen. See, there's a little scene on the boat where he finds out what's really going on with the son. And some people come to take out the son. You can imagine how well it goes for them. And so a short little action scene. The previous one with all the bad guys is more than 20 minutes of trunk scenes with maybe a 2-minute drama scene in the middle of it.
That sounds very familiar.
And then it's time for the hospital scene.
Yes.
Well, John Woo wanted a different location for guns, because they always have, these guys are gun runners, and they always keep them in some random warehouse. It's like, where we should keep it? In a hospital. So there's this weird basement that you get in by going through the big steel doors they put corpses in. Behind that door is this giant room filled with hundreds of guns. Thus begins, at this point, it's about 40 minutes left in the movie. With the exception of a few breaks to drill some tension, like when they discover the room full of babies and all that. It's all gunfight from here to the end of the movie. And it is crazy. It's over the top. It's ridiculous. If you are a logic person that needs everything to make sense in your movies, John Woo is not going to be your first choice. But if you like cool ass looking stuff with random people getting blown up, it's awesome. And the famous scene of the baby with him, where he carries the baby to safety and baby puts out the fire on his legs. Interesting connection between this one and Equilibrium. The body count for Hard Target is 307. Number 7 on the list of body counts for movies, according to moviebodycounts.com. Equilibrium has 236 and is number 14 on the list.
Oh.
So you just said Hard Target, but you're talking about
I meant
Hard Boiled.
Hard Boiled.
Okay, because Hard Target is also a Wu movie.
It is, yes. Yeah, Hard Boiled. All the movies preceding Hard Boiled are Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, Kingdom of Heaven, 300, Troy, Last Samurai, and Two Towers, and the Grindhouse double feature, both films. So it's the only movies with more killings than that are pretty much war movies.
Right.
Oh my God.
That is how many people are taken out in this film.
Yep.
They use more than 200 guns in the film, and Hong Kong is very strict gun laws, so they shipped them in from England, and they had to be inspected by the Hong Kong police before they could be used. They also had to ship blanks, of which they used over 100,000 rounds of blank ammunition.
Holy cow.
Oh my gosh.
That's a fun job of picking up all that stuff. Chow Yun, or whatever, however you want to say his name, Chow Yun Fat looks like he might be the Keanu Reeves of Hong Kong. He is known for shopping at discount stores and things because he's like, if it's comfortable for me, I'm going to wear it. I don't give a crap what people think about my clothes. Spends free time hiking and jogging and is often seen taking pictures with people and signing autographs. He is readily recognizable. There's a period in the early to mid 90s where he was one of the number one actors in Hong Kong and most of Asian world. He's hugely popular. He's currently in the process of donating his entire $715 million fortune. I guess he's keeping himself busy. Barry Wong, the writer, died before Hard Boiled was finished. So it sent it into crazy rewrites. They added in a couple characters and removed the original plot line of a baby poisoning psychopath.
Oh.
A couple reasons. One, the producer went to the U.S. and received very negative response to that. It was John Woo's attempt to create a Clint Eastwood, Steve McQueen kind of character in Hong Kong. Really wasn't successful as far as that goes. They didn't do a lot of future films of that character. Let's see, got pretty good reviews when it was released, but was not as successful as A Better Tomorrow or The Killer. Both had better box office. It took 123 days to shoot. The hospital scene took 40 days to shoot.
Oh, God, I'm not surprised.
Wow.
During the shooting of the hospital scene, real glass was accidentally used for a gunfight between two of the people sending Tony to the hospital. And depending on where you read, it either went for a day or a week. So I don't know. But after long hours shooting in the hospital, because they blocked out all the windows and started making like a giant casino, so you couldn't see what was going on. So the crew would get very disoriented in time and got very tired. And they got near the end, and John Woo was like, okay, I'm going to do something to help you guys. We'll get through these last segments really fast by shooting not the last 5 minutes of the film, but the last 5-minute scenes they had to shoot by crunching it down. And what they did was the two leads get into an elevator. The elevator closes, and 20 seconds later, it opens up on a new scene, which the crew had just reset while the elevator was shut and they're talking. So It was done in one take.
Oh my God.
And they did it in one take. And I'd read that before I was watching it. So I watched for that scene. I'm like, wow, it's impressive. Let's see, where else? Oh, and during the films, when he's running down at the end with the baby and everything's exploding behind him, they shot that one twice because the first time John Woo did not like how far back behind Chow the explosions were.
Oh, no.
So he made them a lot closer. And again, I'd read this before I was watching the scene and going, holy crap, man. I mean, he is close. It's like, I always figured it must have been a depth thing, but apparently it was much closer than it was originally intended. Hard Boiled premiered in 92 at the Toronto International Film Festival to a very rowdy response of stomping feet and yelling at the screen. completely surprising the producer, who thought it would be, well, we'll be lucky if we do well in America. So unfortunately, like I mentioned earlier, this, as phenomenal as this film is, as popular as the director and the lead actor are, it's virtually been unreleased. There was a Laserdisc released in 95. The Criterion Collection released Hard Boiled and The Killer in 98. Or subsequently have gone out of print. A DVD was released of the two in 2000.
Wow.
Miramax bought the rights to Hard Boiled, The Killer, and Bullet to the Head, intending to release a cut version. And John Woo said no.
Wow.
The most recent one was by a company called Dragon Dynasty, which came out in 2007. But there's no remastered Blu-ray. There's no 4K. There's nothing and this needs to be remastered. Watching the DVD, it looks fine.
I'm surprised it's not available for at least streaming through the Criterion channel.
Yeah. They may have do that occasionally, but they rotate fairly heavily. I don't know if they still have the rights to it, though.
Yeah. Wow.
Remember, we were also talking about Weinstein used to be notorious for buying people's films and then editing them.
True.
When they released them. So it's nice that Wu had the power to say, fuck you.
Yeah. No. And in 2007, and another similarity to your film, there was a sequel release, but it was released on a video game. It wasn't a movie, but it did have the two leads reprising their roles for the game.
Oh my God.
It's called Stranglehold. I don't know where it's out. If it's still available, might be worth checking out.
Yeah, like what system would it even be on? That's
It
crazy.
didn't say. It's hard to say why John Woo didn't quite work in the U.S. I mean, his Mission Impossible movie is probably the weakest in the series.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Hard Target, although entertaining and better for Jean-Claude Van Damme, is still a Jean-Claude Van Damme film.
I think that all the savvy action directors were stealing so much from him before he came over here that by the time he got over here, his stuff wasn't as innovative as it was.
Yeah, I think you're right. Very true. I mean, Face Off is probably his most entertaining film, and it's got problems. But he has continued to make movies. He just doesn't do a lot of U.S. films. End with a quote from John Woo about filmmaking. Logic is very boring. When I'm shooting, I do what I feel. I'm free and open. And he's also notoriously known for not using storyboards.
Wow.
Whoa.
Holy shit.
Damn,
That's amazing.
son.
He adds he has no love for film theory or proper film language and simply uses what he wants.
Oh my God. How does he make it like sew together? That's crazy.
So like when we saw, was it Goldman? When he was talking in LA at that script thing we went with William Goldman, where he talked about he didn't believe in story structure. Like, that's because you completely naturally write story structure. You just do it. And John Woo's just one of those.
Visualize it in his head and know exactly what he needs, and therefore doesn't have to.
Yep.
Because there's no way that you're just like, I don't know, I bet it'll work.
Let's see what we get.
Yeah. I wonder if he got away with that, the U.S. films. I wonder, because Hong Kong, you can get away with a lot. The stunt people there are frigging insane.
Yeah.
They're really good, but they're nuts.
Yeah.
And probably get away with a lot more. But hell of a film.
In the U.S., just your stunt director would be like, I need storyboards. What have you got planned for this?
Yeah.
So.
Explain to me, sir, how this is going to happen without anyone getting hurt.
Well, that scene of him sliding down the banister shooting, that would never be something that an American crew would be okay just shooting on the fly.
Yeah. I got an idea. Let's do it.
Right.
No. If you've only seen John Woo's American movies, go find The Killer and Hard Target. I'm guessing The Killer's probably on YouTube as well. But,
I like Hard Boiled more.
I said Hard Target again. Damn it, Hard Boiled.
But I do recognize that The Killer is a stronger story. Yeah. But Hard Boiled is just so visually cool.
And it's just got a really fun, I actually need to watch The Killer, but it's just such a fun film. Yeah. And I feel like there was this like thing going on in the 90s, or was like good era for the baby in a movie. Right. The baby with like a gentleman who perhaps would not normally be around a baby. And like everybody was running with this concept, and it's so enlightening, and it's like, oh yeah, or lighthearted ding, ding. I don't know. Anyways, it makes everything light and it makes it feel fun and silly. And you respect the guy because he cares about a baby.
Pet the dog.
Yep. You got to pet that damn dog.
Making me want to pull out my hard-boiled poster and reframe it and get it up on the wall.
Nice.
Well, cool. So then I believe, Eric, it is your turn.
Yes, it is. Caught me off guard for a moment there. It's like, I know I have. Oh, yeah, that's what my idea was. The probably more likely to go back to a little more to the horror here. But the idea is you have to survive the night. Sort of like the Vincent Price movie where he brings everybody in and survive the night, you win the contest or whatever. And any number of those movies where somebody gets lost along a desert road and has to hang out with Frankenfurter or anything like that.
Oh, wait a second. I didn't realize we could make it a musical.
Sure.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah, sounds good.
I want to throw out one big howdy to Michael DeBronzo, who's just a guy I know who's listening to the show and
cool.
comments on it every once in a while. So I really appreciate that. And I appreciate everybody who's commenting and liking and saying all sorts of nice things, sharing everything.
Spread the word.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for checking us out and staying with us if you have already found us.
Yeah, good point.
That's a nice way to put it. Yeah.
Good point.
I'm sure a lot of people listen to one episode and go, not for me.
Yeah.
I mean, if that chick wasn't so bitchy.
You know what? It still hurts. Hasn't happened since 2000. It wasn't even to me. I was nice and quiet. I was a good girl.
I'm saying that take that in the way it was intended.
I don't know what that means.
I don't mean it pejoratively. I mean it, like, I don't mean it in a bad way. I mean, you're bitchy.
Yeah.
Really,
I don't even know what to say right now.
You're really not
Let's
helping
just
yourself.
Finish the show. Jesus.
All right. So that's the show. We're talking about surviving the night next week.
Lay up.
We'll see if I can survive the night after that comment. Our show is recorded somewhere high above Naval Station Everett at the nexus of all realities and is engineered and produced by Eric Margaret. Our theme music is Strange Aeons Part 1 by the band Nightshade and is used with permission. Find Strange Aeons Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and wherever fine podcasts